Howdy, friends and floorheads. We're back after a slightly longer hiatus than we wanted to explore the adventures of the Trail of Cthulhu in Eternal Lies. When last we left our investigators, they were deep in the Yucatan jungle following an expedition met by the mysterious cultist Jonathan Brooks. And they found a little more than they expected, probably more than they could have imagined. They spoke or communed with some sort of gigantic creature or god or entity of some kind that seemed to be unbound in space and time, or maybe just not bound by the same rules as mankind. It created some kind of mental bond between the investigators and led each of them to experience some memories of things they might not have wanted to share in each other's lives. And it also offered to assist them in destroying the enemy it called the liar, the thing behind the mouths. And it offered them the information needed to summon it once they found the center of the liar's body. And three of our four heroes accepted that knowledge. So, with that in their minds and a new sense of what they might be up against, and let's say a slightly frazzled demeanor, they returned to Merida and then to Mexico City, determined to find Jonathan Brooks once and for all and put an end to his occult operations. Also, during that time, the camera cuts away to show us a beautiful hacienda on the southern edge of Merida, where Francisco de la Vega stares out his window in disbelief as a battered yellow pickup truck emerges from the rainforest and jolts its way towards the center of town. Only half of those who left on the expedition returned, but they did return alive. Fueron escogidos, he says. Fueron benedecidos. And the subtitles say they were chosen. They were blessed. As the truck disappears into Merida proper, De La Vega moves through the halls of his mansion and eventually goes into his master bedroom and into a closet and reveals a small shrine. He kneels in front of it, pulls open a pair of wooden panels, and begins to pray in a language that is not Latin or English or Spanish. And from the wooden altarpiece, we can see the painting of a huge toad-like being crouched under an alien sky, gazing down at him. Let's roll the credits.
So that little vignette was all news to the four of us players. And during the opening credits, are like, that son of a bitch.
It's fine. Don't even worry about it. Remember, you're never going back again.
Oy, oy, oy. All right. It's
All
you, my
right.
friend.
So it is late afternoon. Let's say 4:30 on Friday, July the 26th of 1935, and you've all made the drive back from Merida with a lot of soul searching, a lot of quiet conversations, probably some long periods of silence as you all try and adjust to this sort of new reality, this new information you've found about yourselves and the world you live in. And basically, now you're back in Mexico City where most of the action was earlier. And I think the plan was, and you guys feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, to get yourselves back into a hotel and then possibly visit the little Cantina La Paz in the evening, because the band that had worked with Jonathan Brooks and Leticia de la Luz apparently plays there on Friday nights, and you wanted to talk to them.
I think we get a different hotel than the last time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That seems reasonable. There is no shortage, so you can certainly.
I'd like to check our deposit box at the post office. See if Senor Gonchi perhaps shared any insight. Perhaps he's seen Brooks. And
I think there are 2 notes in there. Not even in envelopes, just kind of folded pieces of paper. The first one is probably from shortly before you left, let's say, or shortly after you left. Let's say it was the 13th, so not quite 2 weeks ago. Just basically checking in and saying, no news, business as usual. No one seems to be aware of who you are. And then there was another one about 2 or 3 days ago that basically says, haven't heard from you. Hope you're still okay. Let me know if you're still here, basically.
Okay. I'll leave a note saying we're back. I'll say meet up tomorrow morning at I'll say a cafe somewhere close by.
Okay, easy enough to find.
Yeah.
All right, then what are the plans?
Go listen to some music.
Okay, so you guys get settled into the hotel, probably take a quick shower or something because you've been in the car for a day and a half. But yeah, so that evening you head back out to La Paz. You've been there before. It's a nice little cantina. It's just on this side of being a dive. Big high ceiling with murals and frescoes on the wall and big ceiling fans spinning up above. The band doesn't start until 9 o'clock, but they're already starting to build up a decent crowd. You find the usual crew that you saw here before, the bartender and the one waiter and Elena, the woman who books the bands, are all here. And as usual with the cantinas here, you don't actually order food, you order drinks, and they bring you food depending on how many drinks you order.
And Sal, I think that I would have talked to you about one of us being kind of standing near the door, not sitting at a table. And I would have said, Sal, I'm fine being at the table with the other 2 or standing near the door. You tell me, where would you rather be?
Yeah, I'll stand. It's all good.
Yeah, so I think I'll be sitting at the table with Alice and the doctor.
Okay. And you probably get an odd look or two, Sal, from the waiter, who's like, "There's plenty of tables and seats here, or you could sit at the bar." But
I'll just give him that welcoming smile, that faraway stare.
Okay, he kind of shrugs and goes on about his business and brings you your drinks to the section of wall you're standing at. What are people? I mean, the last time you were here, I know a couple of you indulged pretty strongly. Are you taking it pretty easy and kind of nursing the drink slowly at this point?
Yeah, I'm nursing beer, so keeping the alcohol content lower than say a hard drink, and drinking it enough to that I can't be accused of not drinking.
Yeah, no, makes perfect sense.
Also, just checking my mic real quick. It was getting a bit fuzzy.
You sound great.
Perfect.
Yeah. As long as we're at the topic, I think Naomi is a little bit fuzzy on camera.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
It's her bandwidth. Her bandwidth is a little low. So
fair enough. She's coming
low.
across the ocean. Yeah. It's fine. We all know who she is. Okay.
That isn't just about how Alice is feeling right now, though.
You're not wrong.
I have about 3 pixels of sanity at me right now.
Alice has a shot of tequila, which she hasn't actually drunk yet, and otherwise she's sticking to juice. But that shot of tequila is sitting ready.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so the crowd starts to pick up as the evening wears on. It's when you get there, there's sort of the people that give you the vibe of being usual. There's the guy that's been on that stool every day for the last 5 years, kind of thing. And then in the evening, once it gets to maybe 7 o'clock or so, you start finding young hip artistic people coming in. A lot of college students, some people who look like they might be actors or artists from the local neighborhood. Most of the people here know each other, or they seem to be at least in groups that know each other. It seems like a pretty friendly if hip crowd. And then probably around 8:45 or so, you see the band come in. They're not doing the full mariachi thing with the big hats and everything, but they are wearing matching outfits. There's four of them, and they basically go up to a little stage in the corner and start unpacking their instruments and setting things up. It looks like they've got a violin, a trumpet, and then, not being Mexican music instruments, they have basically a little guitar and a huge guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're kind of setting up and tuning and talking to themselves over there.
Does it look like a place that they'd be dancing? Or is it just you sit and listen? Is there a dance floor? Or
I mean, there's a little space near the stage where a few couples could dance. It's not a lot of it. This looks like it's mostly a listening bar rather than a dancing bar.
Remind me, go ahead, Doc.
I was gonna say just a small note. I imagine we keep a lot of this maybe at the hotel. Adrian has kept with them the love poem and the damage photo for tonight.
Okay, sounds good. So, Craig, you were saying?
Remind me the booking agent's name.
That was Elena.
Elena. And is Elena around?
Yeah, she's here. Okay. She was mostly, in the back, at like a little table by the bar reading her book. But she, when the band came in, she kind of got up and said hi and, checked in with them and then went back to her table.
You two okay if I go talk to the booking agent and see if our friend Brooks has been around, whether she's had contact with him recently or not?
No
Be
problem.
my guest.
I'm gonna pick up my beer. Is she drinking?
She has what looks like a glass of sangria, maybe.
Okay, I'm gonna swing by the bar and pick up another.
Okay.
And all right, if I sit down.
Oh, Mr. James, she says, please feel free.
I slide the drink towards her. Looking forward to listening to the band tonight, but we're also real anxious to connect with Mr. Brooks. We've got some business with him. Has he been involved as far as getting the band here? Have you had contact with him?
No, I know he has worked with them in the past, but no, we do all the bookings here. He used to come in a lot when Leticia de la Luz was singing here, but she hasn't been doing shows lately, so I haven't seen him since then.
Do you have and I apologize. It's real important that we catch up with him. We've got some money that's due to him, and I would love to just get rid of it so that we can leave and head back to the States. Do you have an idea where we could find him, or?
I really don't. You might want to ask the band. Actually, I know they had been doing some recording with him still. And they might have a better way to get in touch with him. He didn't, he was representing Leticia when she was singing here, but since she stopped coming around, I haven't had any contact with him.
Elena, a small favor. I fear that if a bunch of gringos walk up to the band and start asking a bunch of questions, they might be put off by us. Do you mind kind of giving us kind of a warm greeting, letting them know that it's okay to talk to us?
And she kind of, looks at you, and she has this little smile in the corner of her face and says, well, what kind of questions are you going to ask them? You're not causing any trouble, are you?
No, like I said, he's due some money from the States. The four of us were sent down here to find him, to transfer this money over. I know he's anxious, or if he knew that what we had, I would imagine he would be anxious to get this money. So it's just going to be a matter of, hey, we're here to help a friend of yours, so we need to track him down.
Sure. You've got some reassurance on you. You don't need to spend one, but I know you've got the skill. So she kind of nods and says, "Okay." And you're not 100% sure she bought it, but
Right.
she's at least giving you the benefit of a doubt enough to go talk to the band. So she kind of gets up, gestures for you to follow her, and heads over to the band. And says Javier, and is the the guy who's apparently the leader, who is the one who plays the little guitar. Skinny, good-looking guy, maybe 30, kind of looks up from tuning the guitar, and he says, or she says, "This is my friend James. He had a couple questions he wanted to ask you, and since he's, as he puts it, a gringo, he didn't want to just come up and start talking without a proper introduction. So, Hector or Javier reaches out his hand, says, "Javier Luna," and she gives a wave and steps back.
A pleasure, Javier. We have a common friend. Me and my compatriots, and I kind of gesture back at the table, not to Thal. We've been sent down here to transfer some money to a common friend of ours, Mr. Brooks. We're having a hard time tracking him down, though. We're hoping you could help. And our employer has given us a little bit of extra cash as a finder's fee too. So any help that you can give, we're happy to pay you for your trouble.
So you've got some assess honesty on you, and it's before he even says anything, it's really because he looks up, he's friendly, he's engaged in the conversation. As soon as you say the name Jonathan Brooks, it's like he doesn't frown, he doesn't smile, he doesn't react. It's almost like there's a mask that drops on, that he's like very deliberately neutral and not reacting to it. And he says, yeah, sure, I know Brooks. We're actually going to be going on in a few minutes, and this might be a longer conversation. So maybe we could talk to you during our break.
Yeah, or after you play. We've been excited to hear you. So we'll be over here at the table.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll look for you after our break then.
Any type of tip jar for the band or anything?
Oh yeah, there's like the big guitar cases open at the front of the stage.
So I'm gonna throw a couple bills in there in the obnoxious way of like, see,
I have money.
And then I walk back to the table.
Yeah, and as you do it, you can see he kind of goes over to the other guys, and they do that little sort of huddle up conversation, and a couple of them look in your direction. But no other reaction than that. And a few minutes later, Elena comes up and does the big fanfare introduction. You know them, you love them every week. Javier Luna y sus tontos sonríen. And they, launch into it, and it's very sort of traditional mariachi music. They several of them sing. They do good harmonies. They seem, not that the style of music very well, but they all seem accomplished at what they do. It sounds good. You get a couple people dancing, and it seems like it's generally a pretty quiet thing. The crowd seems to be into it. Obviously, a lot of them are here at the moment because they want to hear the band, or at least it's not enough to drive them out. So it seems to be a pretty full evening. Anything you guys want to do while they're playing?
There was something that I was wondering if Adrian could do just before they started playing.
Mm-hmm.
You're just gonna go around to a few of the younger, artistic-looking people in the crowd, and you're just gonna ask if they speak English any, and if they do,
Certainly some of them do, yeah.
It's just going to start talking about the local art culture, just trying to kind of get that base connection down.
Sure. And they are happy to talk about this stuff. This whole neighborhood, Coyoacan, is a very artsy bohemian area. They do a lot of they are very attached to Diego Rivera, who is kind of the local boy made good, and a lot of stuff. But yeah, they are happy to talk with you and seem enthusiastic there that there is an American who is interested in more of their stuff, and also seems to know what he's talking about.
Just goes on about how he's fascinated by the surrealism and the in the work at the moment, especially from Miss Miss Frida. Lesser known, but it's just, his wife seemed to be doing a few experimental pieces that had gotten word out.
And a couple of them seem impressed that you know about her, because she's kind of a local secret at this point. And then, so yeah, they are happy to talk about that. So yeah, you've certainly gotten a few folks engaged, and naturally, as with any artsy group, there's that one guy in the 1930s equivalent of the black turtleneck and the clove cigarettes who's sitting back and saying, "Well, you obviously haven't considered the repercussions of international fascism on but it's mostly a good group."
I was like, oh, trust me, I have.
Fair enough. But yeah, so they play for probably a little bit over an hour. Seem to be doing good. Not a lot of tips coming into the thing, but some. And everybody seems to be having a good time. They call out and if they finish that one song, they say they're going to be going on a 15-minute break. The bartender sends over a tray of like glasses of water and beers for them. And after they kind of put their stuff away and chat with a couple of people near the stage, the four of them kind of head over to your table.
And just real quick, Brian, I would have obviously given the heads up to both Alice and the doctor. And Alice, I think I'm going to hint to you that I've done more talking than I should have. And I would love it if you took over when the band came. And then at some point during the first set, I would have floated over to you, Sal, and just said, I'm getting weird. They're going to tell us more about Brooks, but I'm getting a weird feel from this band leader. So if you don't mind keeping a close eye on them. I'm not anticipating anything, Sal, but I just, how you get you get a frequency from somebody, right?
As you approach Sal, you see him kind of doing the whole body sway thing, and then suddenly he stops, and realizing that hey, he's been caught. And Sal, yeah, sure, I'll keep an eye out. If you need, just give a shout.
So yeah, they come over. Javier introduces the rest of the band to you. There's Hector and Pedro and Hernando. They're mostly around 30. Pedro, who is the violin player, is kind of younger. He's like probably in his early 20s. And they kind of grab some stools from nearby and sort of circle up around the table. So they look like they're not just passing by to say hello. They're kind of settling in for a conversation. And they kind of look at each other for a moment, and then Javier says, so you're here, you work with Brooks, or you work for people who he works for, or something like that?
We work for somebody who has been, as my compatriot said, wants us to deliver some money to him. So we haven't met him personally yet, and he's proving a bit hard to find. But we did hear that you used to perform with his wife, I believe, Letitia La Luz, and that you've also assisted him with some recordings. So we were hoping that you could perhaps help us find him.
And they do that thing again where they all kind of look at each other as if they're trying to sort of come to some unspoken agreement. And eventually Javier looks back and says, I don't want to say anything bad about the man, but he's a strange one. We do still do some recording for him, but he actually doesn't want us to see where those recordings are. He actually blindfolds us when we're taken in to do the recording sessions. It's well, let me go back a little bit. Back in, I don't know, 33 or so, Brooks hired us to be her backup band. We did a record in 34, started working on the follow-up album after that. It started getting weird musically. It's he is convinced that this album is going to change everything. He's already got a distribution deal in Europe and the US, but there's not even lyrics anymore. It's just kind of, it's like we're playing jazz and she's just sort of saying these sounds over them. Now it's like I don't know what they're up to. Lately he's had us recording songs without her, and she's going to add her stuff in later. And when we were recording with her at the end, we didn't even get to see her. She was in her own isolated recording booth, and she would never come out.
When did she adopt her stage name?
Oh, she right around when we started with her, I think 33.
Mm-hmm. And has she seemed different over the past 2 years?
Well, like I say, since in the last couple months, we haven't even seen her, but she's been getting, how would you say in English? She's
Erratic?
a little fairy, a little fae.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little strange. And
when did you sorry.
No, go ahead.
When was your last recording session?
About 2 weeks ago. No, 3 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay. Do you have any scheduled anytime soon?
No, he usually gives us just a couple days notice when he wants us. He knows we're busy most evenings, but we can usually get together during the day if we know.
How do you get in contact with him, or how does he get in contact with you?
He has a guy. There's this big Russian guy that he usually sends along to get us. He's got a lot of bodyguards, I guess, around him and around his place where these recordings happen. And at this point,
and you don't know where.
Yeah, as you start saying that, Hernando, who is the trumpet player, kind of leans in and says, "I know where it is." And the other three immediately say, "Shut up, Cállate, man, he's gonna kill us." And he, sort of straightens up and, shuts his mouth.
If a bit of honesty will go a ways here, I'll be honest then. We're concerned for Leticia. From what we've heard and what we've seen, it feels as if she's being taken advantage of. But we can't exactly go around saying we aren't in the best opinion of Brooks. Buildings tend to catch on fire when you do that.
And they kind of exchange some worried looks among them. Mac, would you spend me a point of reassurance?
I fortunately have one more because I put another point into reassurance after last session.
Excellent. It's like you were planning for this very sort of thing.
What? No.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Well, you should be refreshed from last session. Should you not?
Oh, should I be?
Yeah. We did a full refresh at the end of last
Gotcha.
session. So
Oh, okay.
hopefully you
Gotcha.
have more than that.
Yep, I shall spend one then.
Excellent. So, Hernando says, look, I don't want to get anybody in trouble here, but I don't know. There's enough people with guns around there that I feel like there's something more going on than just recording the music. And I don't know what it is. I don't really want to know what it is, but I feel like somebody's going to get hurt. And he very obviously looks around the room to see if anybody's listening, and I especially don't want it to be us. So
We don't
if
ask you to
you're
go into the line of fire. We just need a name.
no, you have the names.
An address, rather.
Yeah, location. Yeah. Look, Fred, we've never been here. We've never had this conversation with you.
And I did enough conversing with the locals for them to know that we are just mere appreciators of the art.
And the rest of the band kind of, he looks like he's ready to talk. The rest of the band is kind of, they have a rapid fire conversation in Spanish where they're basically saying, look, man, I don't know. We don't know who these people are. I don't know if I trust it. I think if we can get somebody to put in one more point of either reassurance or maybe I don't know, maybe a streetwise or some interpersonal skill.
How much funds do we have?
I mean,
because Alice wants to.
You spent
I've got a 3
lot of
rating.
money, yeah, and you guys wound up spending a lot of money, on credit to do the whole expedition into the jungle. So, I mean, you have some money on you, but you're probably a little low.
I'm happy to spend a point of streetwise or reassurance.
Well, okay. I can spend a point of reassurance. Just as a woman, I'll lean forward and say, nobody needs to know, and we will do our best to help Letitia. And perhaps just a suggestion. I can imagine it sounds very distressing, the way in which you're being asked to work. Is perhaps it's time to go on a tour for a few weeks. Check out. I've heard Baja California is very nice this time of year.
Alice has become the career counselor of this.
Pretty much. Well, it's not like we have a lot of connections in bars up there, but maybe we'll take it easy a little bit. So I guess the real question is, are you going there to give Brooks his money?
We are going there to give Brooks his due.
And again, they kind of, lean back and huddle up for a second. And, the other guys in the band don't look especially happy with it, but they kind of shrug. And Hernando says, all right, so there's an old ruin from the colonial days, not far from here at the corner of Hidalgo and San Pedro. And they bought it, I guess, and they bought the house next door. The ruins are still ruins, but they fixed up the house and they kind of connected the basements in this sort of, I don't know, dungeon setup. I thought I recognized some of the stuff when we were in there, and then last week I drove by the place and I saw some of his people outside taking a smoke break. That's definitely where we were.
Do you know who he bought these ruins from?
No.
And the house?
No. I mean, I guess the city owned them at some point, but they're always looking for more money, so I guess they just sold it off.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we should get back to our show, but I appreciate your enthusiasm for the arts. And they kind of start shuffling back toward the stage, not looking especially happy, but giving it out.
Lovely bridge on that last song, by the way.
Gracias.
Well, I know where we're going.
Okay. You going there now?
I think we need backup.
What type
It
of backup,
sounds to me
Alice?
like they've got that big Russian guy. They've got bodyguards, guys with guns. Let's try and do this one a bit more planned than the last time. And Alice takes her shot of tequila, downs it, puts it back down, and says, "Let's see what I think we'll need to discuss with Sal, and perhaps Senor Gonchi can help scope this place out."
All right. So you guys gonna hang out here for another bit? You heading home?
I'm happy to hang out for a bit longer.
Okay.
Just a bit longer, and then I imagine that we kind of quietly leave while the band's still playing.
Okay. Yeah, you sort of wait long enough that it's not obvious that that conversation was the point of you being here. And then,
So what are you thinking for backup, Alice?
Are we're walking back to the hotel now?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. We can try Senor Del Toro. Perhaps he can find some stuff out. I know, Sal, you don't really have any contacts here, do you?
Sal?
Just a slight audio issue, I think. Saying you
I
continue.
don't hear her at all.
Oh, you don't hear her at all? Okay.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
weird.
sorry.
Yep. So why don't we do this? Can you do a quick refresh on your connection, Naomi, and we'll see her come in. I just thought you were just being rude, Chris.
No, I couldn't. I'm like, you guys are
You're responding to something.
yeah.
She was saying, we could potentially hire some backup, and then what she asked you, Sal, was if you had any connections in town, people that we could potentially reach out to.
I don't think so.
Yeah, there's not a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
All right. Can you see and hear her now?
This better?
Yes.
All right.
Yay.
Yay,
So-
communications.
Sal, you wouldn't happen to have any connections or connections to connections here?
Nah. Unfortunately, the family's kind of strange that way.
Well, perhaps Senor Del Toro.
Racist.
We're not saying
Perhaps
that.
Yeah. Perhaps Senor Del Toro can help us tomorrow morning when we meet up with him. And in any case, if we can scope out the building, find out what it's like.
Now, I will say your hotel is, I mean, you got one that's fairly close to La Paz since you knew that's where you were going to go. And it's actually only a couple blocks. If you wanted to just like walk by the place on the opposite side of the street and get a look at it tonight, you could.
Oh, really?
No pressure
Okay.
either way, but it's pretty close.
Oh, I was under the impression it was a little bit. So the ruins and everything, all of that's within walking distance?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, a little casual walk by. I'm good for that.
May as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
But just to walk by.
And I tap my piece under my jacket just to walk by.
You guys are so subtle. Yeah.
Special
So,
treat.
yeah. So you, once you kind of check your map and figure out where you're going, it's, maybe an extra couple minutes walk. And you can see that along the street here, there is one area that basically has an old kind of stucco stone wall around it that is mostly intact, and inside it looks like there's probably what used to be a pretty nice colonial era house that is mostly collapsed. There's like a kind of a wooden fence blocking the areas where the outer walls have sagged out a little bit, but and then next door to that is a newer house, blue yellow stucco, pretty good size. It's got a decent garden and stuff out front. There's a decent gap between them, but there's no houses or structures or anything in the middle. And at the house, at least, you can definitely see a couple people just sort of hanging out by the front gate or up on a balcony or, wandering in the gardens. So there's definitely a few people here who look to you like they're obviously guards of some kind.
I shoot a glance to each of you, and I pull out a pack of cigarettes, and I'm crossing the street, and I'm going to walk up to one of them.
Okay.
And I'm doing the tourist,
Mm-hmm.
do you have a light gesture as I'm
Right.
holding a cigarette.
Mm-hmm. And as you approach the guy, he kind of looks at you and he gives this one little, short, high whistle. And a couple of the other guys in the area just kind of look over, and the ones that are on the ground floor just sort wandering in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
But he sees your gesture, and he pulls out a lighter and gives you a light.
I give him a nod, and I go right back.
Okay.
The key thing is I wanted to see what happens if someone walks up there, and I think we just figured that out, Sal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you see him like talk to the other guys, and they kind of go back to whatever they were doing. And he sort of, is leaning against the front gate post, kind of not obviously, but definitely keeping an eye on you while you're still in sight.
Yeah, and I might give like a little stagger on my way back. Somewhat inebriated stagger.
Sure.
So we saw a total of 3?
Yes.
Okay. And I come back and I'm like, sorry.
Does it seem like there's is it next to another house that you'd have access, or around the back, or
I mean, there are other houses nearby. None of them are especially close. They have decent gaps between them. So, I mean, if you got over the wall, there's certainly some places in the garden you could use for cover. But, without knowing how many people are in there or where, it's a little tricky to be sure.
I'm wondering. Go ahead, Doc.
You can go first. Okay. Do we actually have a specific idea of what we will be doing if we get inside?
Killing him, unless he can tell us where the center is.
Mm-hmm. The guns blazing approach hasn't worked well for us in the past.
I wish I had an argument.
Yeah,
Come on, none of you are dead yet.
They could have went better.
I'm not saying that end motive is the issue, but I feel like we should have a few more steps, a few more goals, perhaps. Maybe destroying the records, taking away some of the equipment, getting some vital thing that they need for this. Because just going in with the intention to kill has not proved the best for us.
I kind of shrug.
Let's just think about that until we figure out how we're going to get in there. It seems we want to go more with subterfuge again, not looking for an invitation.
do we need to get in? Can we find a way to get them to come out?
Oh, yeah, fire. That's a classic.
We also said the basements were all interconnected.
Oh, that's right.
That does, however, mean that we would be stuck in a maze that we do not know the layout of underground.
Perhaps there's city records. I don't know how they do that here in Mexico City, but I mean,
Potentially.
perhaps
Worth a look.
check if we can find any records of the building, so we can, yeah.
I'm
Sounds
behind
like
that.
this. Yeah. But perhaps get some sleep first.
Mm-hmm. Sounds
See what it
reasonable.
looks like in the daytime. Although I do think that they will have remembered us. So Let's see if
It's hard to
Senor
forget our
Del
faces. Just
Sorry,
so
Matt, what was that?
it's hard to forget our faces. They're just so remarkable.
This is true. All right, so it sounds like we're heading back to the hotel to try and get some sleep.
Yeah, get some sleep and then do a little bit of research in the morning. I like this idea.
All right, sounds good. Anyone have anything particular they want to do overnight or just crash out?
Yeah, there'll be no dreams. Just get
Sure,
that out.
okay.
Get that out of your head.
Sure,
Yeah,
let's
just so you know, our plan is not dreaming. Thus, that would it was not a thing we.
sure. No, makes perfect sense. It's fine.
Adrian will be doing the same thing that he's been doing every night, save for the night that they got back, which
Trying to
is,
take over the world?
I mean, obviously, but we don't let them know that.
Right.
Just trying to take as many notes as possible from just the bits and pieces that we have. Y'all have seen his note page; it's erratic. Just any small connection he suddenly thinks of. He's definitely writing a few choice words about De La Vega at the moment. Because he doesn't
You
have
don't
proof.
know anything about De
He
La
doesn't have
Vega.
proof, but by God, does he have instincts?
Fair enough. All right. Well, the night passes without incident. If there are any dreams, they seem like just normal dreams, nothing particularly weird or horrifying. And in the morning, where'd the plan? I'm going to say you wanted to meet Del Toro around 10 o'clock or so.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got a little time before then if you want, or we can just cut straight to that.
Do we split up? Some of us go check records, some of us speak to Del Toro, or do we stay together?
I don't know if Sal and I are the right people for research. I'm happy to accompany anybody for that research, but I'm not the bookish type.
I know a thing or two about books, but not in this case.
You know about books and the cooking thereof.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean, Alice, if there's time, I mean, who did you plan on taking with you for your meeting?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps Sal, if you'd come with me.
Absolutely.
I think you'd probably have a good idea of what we might need, what type of reconnaissance.
Maybe.
Doc, you want to see if we can figure out if there's any records of these tunnels?
I'm always happy to go to the archives.
All right.
All right, so let's do the city records first. You go in there, and so basically you're trying to find. You've got the address of this building now, so you're trying to find if there's any indication of tunnels or anything beneath it. It takes a little back and forth because, as I recall, neither of you have any points in Spanish.
Correct.
Okay.
It's good plan.
Great,
So-
off to a great start.
I mean, there's a little bit of awkwardness, at the receptionist when you start asking about things, and eventually she is able to get someone who has some English and can kind of figure out what you're asking for, and we'll go in and show you. Basically, the records of the house show that it was built probably in 1911 or so. It has a very basic layout of what the building is like. It's kind of a U-shaped building with garden around, and then on the inside it's like a private garden or patio area. There's no indication of any cellar or anything like that, but looking at the records here, they don't indicate that they necessarily would have that information. As far as the building next door, it dated from like the 1850s. Was badly damaged in a fire around the turn of the century, never rebuilt. The owners moved away and kind of left it. And eventually it sort of regressed to the ownership of the state. And they showed Jonathan Brooks buying it like a year or so ago for pennies on the dollar, basically. And again, there's no indication of whatever might be underground on those.
And remind me, Brian, our guards, were they protecting both properties? Did we get a sense of that?
You only saw them at the house. You didn't see anybody guarding the ruins.
The destroyed house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if that. I mean, what do you think, Doctor? Do you think we might be able to get into the burned down home without too much interference. I think that they're focused on protecting what I assume is Brooks.
I do think we should still approach with caution, but it's a good option. So you said that it was fire damage around the turn of the century.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any archive about any police search into that, or was it just immediately marked as some accident?
No, I mean, you probably find a comment in somewhere that it looked like the place was struck by lightning, which started the fire. So there was no suspicion of arson or anything like that.
Oh, we have no past history with lightning. Not at all.
And Brooks bought both properties.
Correct. Bought them around the same time, actually.
My only concern is that if we see nobody on the outside, that could just mean there are many more on the inside.
Well, one way to find that out, isn't it, Doc?
Yes, so?
Let's hope that Alice and Sal get us some information.
And speaking of which, you guys head over to the designated cafe, get yourself some coffee and some breakfast, and a few minutes after the appointed time, you see Gonchi del Toro kind of walks by the place, sees you there, sort of goes around the block and comes back in. Comes and sits down with you and says, "It's good to see you're okay."
It's good to be okay. Good to be back. Have you had any sign of Senor Brooks?
I mean, I've kept giving him reports on what I've found, and not that there's been a whole lot lately. I keep getting notes back from him at his apartment building, but I don't see him. I never did, actually.
I think we found out where he's gone to ground, and I mentioned the address.
He sort of pulls out a notebook and jots it down. Doesn't seem to ring any bells with him or anything.
So we walked past yesterday, and from the information we've gotten, it seems like he's holed up there with quite a lot of bodies, protection, and I think it would be good we'd like to somehow get inside. We're thinking.
You have an interesting approach to life, senor. I mean, this is a guy who we know is trouble.
Yes.
Right? He's burned down buildings in the past. People have fallen afoul of accidents, and you just want to walk up to the front door where he and his buddies are? I wish you luck.
We don't want to walk up to the front door, but yes, he's been causing a lot of trouble, and we want to end that. So, trying to...
Better you than me, he says.
Well, give it some thought, and we thought perhaps you might have some resources or some suggestions how we might get in or get those guards out.
I mean, all I know is that he's a very private man who doesn't like being balked, doesn't like having his efforts interfered with. So I don't feel like teasing that particular bear. I think frankly, I think it's a pretty bad idea. But, if you're committed to dealing with it in that way, then, I don't know, be my guest. But I don't know that I have anything to offer in that situation. I can send a message to him, asking him to meet me or send someone to meet me and pull one or two people away, but I don't think it's going to make a big difference. I'm certainly not ready to go in there just on the premise that he's a bad guy.
Do you
You've
have
not
any
had
contacts with? Sorry.
You've never, had him come to meet you before, have you?
Mm-mm. No, the only one I ever meet in person is the Russian.
Yeah. All right.
Does the Russian, when he meets with you, does he come on his own or with others?
I think he's usually got an extra guy or two lurking in the background, keeping an eye on things, but he's the only one I talk to.
Big freaking help.
Do you have any contacts with the, I don't know, the local police or
I know some
bomberos?
cops, but they're not the kind of guy that I can ask to go break down somebody's house. I mean,
Do you
if you've
think they-
got evidence of him doing something illegal, then maybe, but he's also got a lot more money than I do, so he probably already has some of the policia on his payroll, so I wouldn't expect a lot from that.
How does the fire department work here?
With my extra point in explosives.
I mean, when something catches on fire, they show up and try and put it out. That's basically what they do. I'm not sure what more than that you're looking for.
No. I look towards Sal and I say, it's hard to, I don't know.
Look,
I'm thinking if we can get the Russian guy alone.
Look, maybe you don't want to talk to me about this, and I get that, but why is this so important to you?
I think you haven't seen that much, but you already know that he is very bad news. We went to Merida and we saw, I think we can confirm that he needs to be dealt with. And that needs to be done for the good of everybody.
So is this personal for you or just for the good of society?
Well, we're all a part of society, aren't we?
Sure.
And I think that Mexico City would be a whole lot safer if he were gone.
Well, then I wish you luck.
If you could, well, I'd say keep an eye on him. Don't tip him off. We'll perhaps reach out again. I think we need to discuss. And if you do have any more news, let us know. But,
Sure. I'll keep an eye on the post office box and also on the newspaper headlines in case a bunch of gringos abruptly go missing or go on an arson spree.
I hope nothing that bad.
Me too. And he, finishes his coffee and gives you a nod and heads out the door.
Alice looks at Sal and says, this is actually quite difficult, planning to break into a house. How do you do that at home? Or
Well, in a situation where you're kind of, knuckled down in a house, I guess, you take their cover away. You'll light the house on fire.
yeah.
And like rats fleeing a flood, they'll come running out.
We need.
And then you
that's
deal
why-
with them.
Yeah. It's also we need some kind of distraction. We need to get them out.
I found fires a pretty good distraction.
Sal has a plan.
Sal always has a plan. So I think this might be a good time for us to go ahead and take a 10-minute break.
Great.
Let you guys ponder, and then we can regroup back up and see what you
Yep.
think you're going to do next.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Okay, we have a plan.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear it.
We have no plan.
Your plan is to crowdsource a plan.
That's right. James has some ideas, I think, once we get a chance to get together.
Yeah, I think unless people have other things they want to do while we're split off into research groups, you guys can certainly get back up. Mac?
Yeah.
Adrian is interested in looking maybe first in the folklore section, trying to see if there's any repetition of the symbol of the eight-sided star. And not just Mexican folklore, kind of trying to go like if there's any European folklore they have as well, because that's another area we were concerned about. Whatever cultures they have that we kind of know those are places of interest.
Yeah. So I would say you do some digging around about that, and there are certainly, I mean, it's a relatively simple design, so it's the kind of thing you see in a lot of cultures, but there's not a lot that has any particular significance to it. I mean, you probably find some stuff in like medieval European manuscripts that use it as one of the many shapes that you might use to contain a summoned creature, but you'll also see 5-pointed stars and 10-pointed stars and any other combination you care to name. There are patterns of it in various Middle East traditions and that kind of thing, but again, there's no kind of consistent, you don't find anything that indicates it's more important or more specialized than any other random geometric sign that might be used.
And just before we leave, just gonna see if there's any archive or historical information on Balcazar that we may be able to take back with us, like just rent from the library.
Yeah, I could see you would certainly be able to find some references. Let me find my notes on him, which are in the Merida section. Yeah, it's basically he was a conquistador that supposedly. Oh, come on! Why am I not finding what I wanted? Yeah, he came to the Yucatan in the early 16th century when the Spanish were still exploring. He apparently went to try to find. There were legends of the lost city of the Xochitl. And he basically set off on an expedition into the jungle with his men to find them and never came back. So it's basically, there's not a lot about him. It's just like he's one of a long list of conquistadors who fell afoul of either the jungle or the locals when they were trying to conquer and explore.
And just one last question: the conquistador's armor that De La Vega had, was that purely ornamental, or that would have been something that?
No, that looks like that was functional armor.
Okay. Yeah, just chucks a few bits and bobs and realizes that James is just probably staring at him like, it would be great if we could go meet our friends.
Done. All right, so with that, you guys are able to regroup back at your hotel.
I imagine that we've taken lunch perhaps in a separate room so we can talk privately.
Sure, they can easily arrange that.
Alice and Sal were back earlier, and so we're digging into some nice chilaquiles or something. And I asked Sal, what do you think Uncle Vinny would do?
Yeah, he'd go in guns blazing. He's a upfront sort of guy. He doesn't care much for subterfuge.
I still don't think that's the best idea for now, but unless James can come up with something better. I might just have to
really
knock
think
on
we
the
need
door.
to use to draw them out.
Yeah.
I am always happy to just knock on the door.
We don't. Nobody doubts that, Doc.
At that point in time, Doc and James knock on the door and enter.
Timing.
So did you get us our backup?
Unfortunately, not really. He's Senor Gonchi is he's a bit hesitant to get involved, but he'll keep us up to date. He did tell us that he is able. He's been dropping messages and getting back instructions. Apparently, he does every now and then meet up with the Russian guy with somebody else. So that's, we could perhaps set up a trap and capture him, but I don't know if Senor Del Toro is willing to get that involved. And otherwise, I was giving it some thought. Perhaps if we can arrange a police raid, but we need evidence, and Senor Mr. Brooks has a whole lot more money, so it's definitely not certain that we'd be able to get that type of distraction going on. So we've kind of hit a roadblock. Sal was thinking about seeing if we could find a mine somewhere and get some dynamite, but I don't think there are any that close to Mexico City. Did you find any plans in the...
I'll let Doc speak to it, but
Just rudimentary plans of the upper floors. There's nothing about underneath. And perhaps that means that whenever the buildings were constructed, it was always meant to be a secret. Which begs the question of just how far they go.
there's a reason he bought the ruins, right? That
Oh,
that destroyed house. It's the only thing that makes sense. That there's something there. And when we did our walk by, everything seemed focused on protecting Brooks, not necessarily the derelict house next to it or the I'm wondering if tonight we check it out. Maybe there's a little panel, hidden floor door that takes us down. There's got to be a reason why he bought it, and I'd like to find out what that is.
One thing to note, looking into the reason that the house burnt down, there was no specific reason given. However, it did seem to be struck by lightning, which could of course just be natural environmental hazard. But we've had a bit of experience with lightning strikes in the past few days.
Yeah, I don't know if there's all kinds of possibilities, right? This is the house is significant. Something was happening there, or got struck by lightning, or he saw. I don't know. I don't know.
This whole operation seems to be focused on finding points of intense power or importance. They seem to be focusing on where they have their mouths placed. It's possible that that's where it is. They wouldn't exactly need to defend it much if there's a giant screaming mouth there that will eat you instantly, I suppose.
I don't think we have to go that far, Doc. It might just be empty too, and just might be an entrance. But what do we think?
If I were a money-grubbing, power-hungry individual who was camped out in a house, I'd want to wait to escape in case things go sideways. I think that there may be a connection somewhere.
Are we sure that he doesn't have a way into the record studio that our friend was hiding out in?
don't think
It's
that's a distance away.
fairly distant. Yeah,
Oh, no,
it
I
would
thought it was in
be.
the same neighborhood. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Sal, I agree, and don't get me wrong, love your plan. Let's burn the whole block down, as far as I'm concerned, and
Oh,
everything
great!
that's in it.
I'll get started.
So,
But
Ah,
to your point as well, Sal, we should figure out if this ruined house is providing an escape route. Just something tells me, back to it again, there's a reason he bought this location, and it has to be connected to that house. And I want to see what the hell there is. Brian, real quick, as we did the pass by on it, can you give me a sense of kind of what's left? Is there interior that was not burned down? Is it all just...
I mean, it looks to you like there's like the exterior walls are, kind of jagged and crumbly and uneven. There were like bits of some interior wall.
Okay.
There's no roof or anything. So there's not a lot.
Would we need cover of darkness to investigate it? Because I'm thinking if we go in there in the dark, we're going to need lights. They're going to see the lights. So perhaps, we try it this afternoon. We walk by, see if we can.
Yeah, it's kind of the 6 of 1. You would need lights, but also in the daytime, it's a lot easier for someone to just look over and see you there. So on the whole, especially if you were careful about the lights, because there are some walls that'll block line of sight.
Okay.
Looking at it, I would say, especially somebody like Sal could say, you're still probably better off at night.
Okay.
I don't want some grandma seeing us poking around and calling somebody.
Yeah. So
I say we trust your gut then, James.
Yep.
Let's go tonight.
And I think we bring everything we can to make sure that we can get out again. And I look towards...
We all look at Sal.
And you all are sure mentally you're ready for this? It's been a taxing few days.
We'll be fine, Doc.
I don't answer you, Doc, and I walk away.
Okay.
I'm good to cut to tonight if everybody else...
Yeah, does anybody have anything they want to do during the day?
Go ahead, Sal.
I'm assuming at this time there are no professional firefighters, i.e. those that respond from a...
They're mostly volunteers, yeah.
Okay. And then I'm going to try to find contact or somewhere to get weapons or explosives or something that, can assist us in making things go boom.
Sure. So I would say, just because you're working in an unfamiliar area with cross language issues, I would need you to spend me 2 points of Streetwise.
Okay.
And that will get you, let's say, I think you guys are pretty good on weapons. I mean, you've still got a couple Tommy guns, as I recall.
Yep.
But I would say that would probably get you a couple of bundles of TNT.
Okay. I will do that.
Okay.
We're going to Delta Green this shit.
I mean, you do what you got to do, man.
Alice stocks up on medical supplies, and she's also getting a couple of bottles of the strongest liquor she can find.
Sure.
So she said she's got bandages, liquor. She's packing her bag. She's got a little backpack, and she's gotten black clothes, and she's really getting into it.
Okay, going full ninja.
Slightly, she's going guerrilla. She's going a bit guerrilla.
Okay.
Thinking back on Venezuela, every now and then you can hear him muttering like, "Oh, God damn that jungle."
Fair enough. All right. Well, in that case, we will, cut from that little action prep montage off to the evening. What time are you guys thinking of heading over there?
I'd say when it's dark, but there's still was it a street that there was a lot of foot traffic, or
It is kind of a major road,
okay.
but a lot of it is cars.
Yeah.
Obviously, and we're talking it's a Saturday night now, so this is less the club area. So you might see some people going to or from the clubs. So there is some traffic. So you might want to wait until the wee hours.
Or I could
if you wanna
imagine that
cut
we
that down.
use the traffic, because otherwise they just see, we're just one of the crowd.
Sure. All right, I'll buy that.
Yeah, and I'm imagining if I'm facing and tell me if I'm right in my geography here, Brian, if we're facing across the street, facing the two building compound,
Mm-hmm.
the residence is on the right, which is where we have our guards. We've got the ruined
To the
home
left.
on our left, and I'm
Yep.
imagining we're going to try to access it on the far left of that.
Right. So going from the side away from the house.
Correct.
Okay, makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, so you're sort of walking along that sidewalk, part of the growing crowd, although not as many of the crowds have backpacks and violin cases. But maybe you're on your way to a show. And yeah, you can see there's like a plain wooden fence kind of supplementing the ruined walls of this old hacienda. As you get there, it doesn't look like there's anybody immediately on the property, so you might be able to just slip over the fence. It's not especially high or secure, so you could probably cut into the alley on the far side of the house and just kind of boost each other over.
Yeah, just making sure that obviously our friends next door don't notice us. So
Right.
looking
Well,
for that opportunity.
that's the tricky part, isn't it? So I will want each of you to make me a stealth roll with a target number of 3 because it's dark. Add points from the pool as desired, or you can just roll a 6. That's fine too. Oh, you did add points anyway.
He has never seen a gun.
All right.
Alice has no fear. Okay.
Spend 2 points.
Okay. Well, there are a couple close moments where I think the hardest part is whoever's going to boost Sal over, because Sal is a big guy, and so there is a certain amount of
It's all three of us. Sal goes in first.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
He's got a big heart.
Yeah, exactly.
You got a big body. He's got a big heart.
Exactly. But yeah, so despite some close calls, you managed to make it over the wall and into the property without any undue noise. You don't hear any reaction or see any lights from over in the house area. And yeah, you're in the wreckage of an old house.
I'm focused on floor. I want to see if there's any type of tunnel access within the ruins of the building, and if not, then I'll explore the grounds. But
yeah, so actually it's not difficult. You kind of go through the ruins, and there's a lot of it is just there's bits of old rotten wood and bricks and that kind of thing scattering, and then there's an area sort of in the back corner, the back right corner nearest where the house would be, that has obviously been cleared out. And you can see that there is a relatively new looking metal door with a big steel padlock on it. So that looks like exactly what you were expecting or hoping to find.
I think Sal and I are going to work on that padlock.
Okay. If somebody wants to spend me a point of locksmithing, I think you can get your way in.
I think I have that. Let's
I
see.
believe
here.
you do.
I do. I will spend a point.
All right. It probably takes a minute or so. It's a new, good quality lock, and there's some quiet cursing under your breath, but eventually you do get it to pop loose.
I'm going to put my hand out to you, Sal, for one of the big guns.
I provide you a big gun.
Okay.
And, I make eye contact with each of you. Chuck my big gun, and let's open this door.
Okay. It opens rather quietly. It looks like it's pretty well maintained, and there is a stairway going down. Looks like a fairly old stone stairway.
I don't ask. I go first.
Okay.
Before Adrian walks over to follow, would have just been keeping an ear out for our next door neighbors while they've been picking the lock.
Yeah, no, you don't hear anything. It sounds like they're just doing whatever it is they're doing. There's not a lot of conversation or music or anything going on.
Mhm. And can I grab the padlock as I pass by?
Yeah, sure.
I just don't want to get locked back in.
Good thought. Would I do something like that to
Yes.
you? Yes, I would.
Thank God for Dr.
Yes,
Adrian. I never would have thought.
Just yoink. No.
Yeah. All right. So you make your way down, closing the door behind you, whoever's coming last. Okay.
I think perhaps just leaving it on a slightly ajar.
Okay.
So perhaps we put a wedge between it just so.
Yeah, you can find a little piece of rubble or something,
Yeah.
easily keep it
Yeah.
slightly open so it's not obvious from a distance. Okay. And yeah, the stairs lead down into a single big open chamber, like most of the size of what the building above was. Plain stone, nothing very interesting. There's like, one light bulb on just like a stand in the middle of the room. And then in the south side of the wall, so facing the road, there is a big archway, leading into what looks like a tunnel going somewhere beyond that, and then also, and that looks fairly old. The architecture and the stonework looks pretty old. And then in the corner, sort of, I'm trying to find the best way to lay this out. So you've got the ruins and you've got the house.
Mm-hmm.
So the archway goes here, and there's a tunnel going this way. And then in this corner down here, there is like a more recent tunnel that looks like it's been dug more or less by hand. That's also going that way in the direction of the house.
Both of them headed towards the house.
Yep. Well, the one in the south wall goes both ways, it looks like.
Got it.
And the newer tunnel, you can see that there are some. There's like a power cord and extension cord, coming from a wall socket here down into that tunnel.
Yeah, I think the next thing has he wired this place? I want to see if that light turns on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it looks like, honestly, it looks like the power that's coming from is actually coming from the direction of the house. So it doesn't look like this property has power, but it's sort of leeching off the house next door.
You don't imagine they'll be notified of the lights coming on in here, do you?
Don't know how.
I don't know. They have. I don't know if they have weird technology or anything. Anyways, number 1 or number 2?
I'm leaning more new than old.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we need to figure out where old goes, though. If we're trying to prevent them or Brooks from fleeing, if he's got 2 exits that he could use, I want to make sure that both those are taken out.
Oh, I agree. It's a matter of which one we start with, right, Sal?
Yeah.
So it looks like we're going new, Brian.
Okay, sounds good. So you start making your way along there. It's got bare bulbs every 20 feet or so on the roof with these little electrical cables going on. This was not made with any particular care. It looks like it was dug pretty roughly. It's got reinforced with some basic wooden beams, but this was not made to be pretty or anything like that. And after about, I don't know, 100 feet or so, which you'd guess is probably roughly halfway to the house part of things, there is a door in the left wall, like an exterior door would be, a pretty heavy wooden door. And you can see that some of the cables are going through. There's like a little headlight above the door that the cables are going through into whatever lies beyond.
Is it locked?
It is not.
Before we go in, can I lean into the door and hear if I hear any like mechanical whirring? Anything that would indicate different wires or different machinery past this door? Any noise at all?
Nope, sounds very quiet in there.
We can fix that. Let's open the door.
Perhaps knock first.
No, we're not knocking. Alice.
Oh, come on.
Alice really likes knocking on doors.
Come on now.
Alice steps
We'll
back
go
out
ahead
of the
and-
way. So.
I'm going to go ahead and actually go check that other tunnel just to see.
Yeah, so you go back and take a look at that, and honestly, about 30, 40 feet in either direction, it looks like that tunnel has like collapsed and caved in. So it doesn't look like it really goes anywhere.
I wait till you get back, Sal.
Thank you. I hope that you wouldn't kick off a party without Sal.
And just because ever the artistic eye, is there anything special about the door, or is it just a plain door?
No, it looks like just a regular outdoor house door. Hasn't even been painted. It's just kind of set here to. All right, and you open the door, and it opens up into what I don't know that any of you have any particular expertise in this area. I'm guessing Doc is probably the one who is most likely to make the connection first, but it looks like this is like an audio recording control room. You know, there's some big control boards. There is what looks like a thing that literally makes records, carves onto the wax masters, the recording thing. There are windows off to the left and to the right that look like they both are in like little isolation rooms, recording rooms, and there is a door on the opposite side. One of the side rooms. The side room on your left is like there's a shutter over it, so you can't see in that room. The other one you can see.
Are we beneath the house? Can we tell as far as how
You're
long we
probably
traveled?
halfway to the house. You're roughly between the two.
I have this. Should we ruin that record maker just in case we don't finish things tonight?
I think we check what's.
Break it so they can't make any more records.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh yeah.
There's going to be no more recordings on here.
Just to be safe. And he's just going to see if there's a very easy way to break this record maker in a way that like he can take something away that they can't just immediately repair it.
Right.
Alice just walks up to one of them and starts pulling out cables.
Yeah, I mean the cables, that's certainly something they could probably repair, but I mean looking at it, you can see there's like a little stylus that comes in and does the recording, and that looks like a fairly sensitive operation. So yeah, between breaking the stylus and kind of bending the arm, it's not difficult to, I mean, not that you're an audio engineer, but you feel like this would be pretty difficult to get anything usable out of.
Do we see any masters or records kicking around as well?
Yeah, there are definitely some. There's like a storage area on the wall with like a bunch of discs in those paper envelopes, and they're all kind of hand lettered with names in Spanish and dates.
Assuming it won't take too long, I'd like to snap each of them in half, please.
Yeah, no, it's easy enough. They're relatively fragile, so you can beat the crap out of those.
And there's the other door. We can't see what's behind it.
Correct.
So do we check that?
Yep.
First?
Okay.
The destruction tour continues.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it just feels good to break shit.
It does.
Yeah. So you open up that door, and it's basically got like a short hallway. There are doors on your left and your right, and just regular interior doors. And then on the far end is what looks like another outdoor door.
Doc, you want to say something?
Yeah, are there any speakers set up anywhere? I don't know what speakers would have looked like in the 1930s exactly, but
I mean, more or less like they do today, but yeah, there definitely are speakers in the control room.
We might want to cut those as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and do that. I don't want to hear whatever they're selling.
All right. Yeah, you
Actually, Sal's going to go
It's
ahead and
a
just
pretty big.
pick the speakers in the center just to collapse the entire.
yeah.
To,
No,
you know,
it's
yeah.
simple to do. This is not sturdy equipment. Alice, you were saying?
Alice is looking down the hallway, all the doors and stuff, and this is just halfway between the house and the ruins. And this is a pretty big complex they've got down here.
And we were told there would be one down here, didn't we?
Yeah. So we check everything before we head up.
No door unopened, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. So basically the doors on either side are like small just like I guess an isolation room with another door that leads into the little recording rooms on either side. The one that was on your right as you came in looks like it's set up with like 4 microphones and some stools, so you're guessing this is probably where the band would be recording. On the other side is like a just a single stool and a single microphone, and there's like like I said, there's a shutter over that window to the control room that can be opened or closed from this end.
This is where Letitia sings.
Yep.
That would be your assumption. Yeah. Alice, I want to say you have some electrical repair, don't you?
Yeah, I've got 1 point.
Yeah, I would say that one thing you notice that's a little odd is like there's obviously a lot of electrical cables and audio cables and everything else going on through here. The electrical cables that are here are all pretty heavy duty, which seems like more than would be necessary unless there is something somewhere else in the chain that is drawing an awful lot of power.
I'm going to remark that to the others, and I'm also going to, this is something that I picked up in the army. You get bored, you talk to young guys, the mechanics. I'm going to start looking around. I'm thinking ahead. Is there some way that I can cause a short out or an electrical power surge or something like that?
I mean, you could certainly, if you have the tool, you could certainly just cut the wires. If you want to like cause a short or something like that, I would say if you wanted to spend a point in electrical repair, you could probably come up with that. Like I say, a lot of this is stuff that you're not specifically familiar with.
I'd spend a point. Just I'm not going to do it yet, but I'm in the meantime I'm thinking about how can I somehow use this to pretty much take out the power, I'm guessing, to the house, because this is pretty heavy duty. This is, perhaps we start looking down further, see what it is, and we can make it overload or something. I can tamper with the grounding or.
Yeah, and the other thing you notice in the recording studio where presumably Letitia is it's got the sort of that like white sound reducing paneling on the side, and you realize that one of those panels is movable. And you pull it aside, and
I think like
it is kind of a secret door. It looks like this whole little complex was built inside a larger stone room. And you can see that there's a lot of your guess would be like Aztec murals and stuff on the walls. You can see it's like you can see off to one side there is what looks like the other end of the block tunnel that Sal looked at back in the 10th. And there's also like on the far corner, which the other door at the end of the hallway, it leads out into the same big room. There is an old flight of stone stairs leading down. Yes.
Doc, can you get a sense of how old these murals are?
Would I imagine that they would have been from like right around whenever the conquistadors arrived, or would it have been from far before that?
I mean, I don't think you have anything in the way of like anthropology or archaeology. You do have some art history.
There it is.
Um, so I mean, you don't know. I mean, you definitely recognize them as Aztec work. You probably don't know enough to specifically go to a time period, but your first guess was that they're probably older than the conquistadors.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and just based on the style of, just the aesthetic styles of it, does it seem very similar to Chochul in any way,
Um,
or does it seem quite distinct?
no, it's different because the stuff that you saw in the Yucatan was mostly Mayan.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Aztec, which is similar but distinctly different.
So I can tell that there wasn't like an overlap of different cultures. Like it seemed to be something with the Yucatan where like there was a bit of a convergence. It just seems primarily only Aztec.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. I can't tell exactly when it's from, but it's older than the conquest.
So older than the houses.
Oh, very,
For sure.
very much
Okay.
so.
That's what I wanted to know.
But the thing is, do we motion towards the stairs? Do we go down, or I think perhaps we check this level first? Make sure we know no surprises.
Keep
I
an
agree.
eye on the staircase while we investigate on this floor.
And I'm happy to go down, just take a look, see.
A look-see could result in you ending up in a madhouse at the moment, so let's pause on the look-see.
Yeah, just wait just a sec, Sal. I agree. Let's clear this level first.
Yeah. So basically, the one other place you find in this little studio complex is like a little bare bones kitchen break room. You know, it's got like a jar of water. There's like a little ice box on one side, you know, and a kitchen table and a couple chairs. You know, nothing very interesting. The rest of it seems to all be dedicated to that recording section. So all you've really got at this point is the continuation of the tunnel past the audio complex and the stairs leading down. You can shine your flashlight down the other tunnel and you see that same collapse that you saw earlier. So.
Okay. Do we check first that this leads up to the house and perhaps I don't know, block that? If are we gonna head down the tunnel to explore, then I think perhaps we need to make sure that nobody's coming down from the house, or do we, and I slide the panel back so that it's covered, do we take out the house first?
I think we should know where we think we know where this leads. Let's confirm that. I would like, if we're going to go deeper, I'd like to get a sense of where we might see threats come in. So I'm with you on that, Alice. And Sal, I promise we're going to go downstairs.
All right, so you're going to explore down the upper tunnel first? Yes, you go down another maybe 50, 75 feet, and eventually it comes into what looks like a set of stairs leading up.
There it is.
And your mental sense of direction suggests that you're probably under like the back of the other house.
Do we see any
Do they lead up? I'm gonna
like, gas supply?
You don't see any of that down here.
Okay.
Although the electrical lines that are running to the studio and beyond it do seem to be coming down those stairs.
From the house.
I think we try and check that there's a door, and if our plan is to go down the stairs, we make sure, I don't know, booby trap it?
Or block it off. I would imagine there's enough equipment and stuff, desks and file, just stuff within this recording studio that we can use to block that door so we don't have any unexpected visitors as we explore down. I'll go with that.
Okay. So heading back to the recording studio, blocking the door with assorted desks and broken speakers and such. It's not going to stop a determined group from getting through, but you would hear it being disassembled.
Yeah, exactly.
So, fair enough. And then heading to the stairs. So they descend, and this is like a fairly wide, like 10-foot wide stairway. I'm flashing back to early D&D days. Kind of goes down probably a little more than a modern day flight of stairs. As a little landing, it turns to the right, you go down that, and you can see that it opens up into a big, high ceilinged chamber that you can see from like halfway down the steps. You don't hear anything at this point. And there isn't currently any light down there, but just from your flashlights, you can see that it's definitely a bigger room beyond.
And there's no electrical wiring coming down here.
There is. It seems to be, kind of coming through the doorway that you see below you, and then off to the left.
I want to follow that where it goes.
Okay. So you make your way down into this larger room. And this is, again, very clearly old Aztec era architecture. There is, there's a huge mural on one wall that, is in, you would think, remarkably good shape for as old as it has to be. It looks like there was a mural on the opposite wall that has suffered a little bit more from the ravages of time. There is some stuff on the ceiling. You can see that it looks kind of wet, as if water was gradually leaking in from above, not flooding, but just like a slow, almost like a cave kind of vibe to it. There are, let's see, some crates stacked around along the edges of the walls. And there are also 4 identical looking statues in the corners of the room, kind of facing inward. And I've popped those out on the forge as well. And you can see, as you kind of just quickly flash your flashlights about, there is what looks like a wide, like, not a stairway, but like a ramp going down further from here. And there is also a hallway off to the left, which is where those electrical cords seem to go.
Let's keep going.
Okay. Which way? The ramp, the hallway?
Follow the electricity.
All right. Yep. Sounds good.
Follow the wires.
Yep. So you continue along there. It's, again, a pretty wide hallway. Looks quite old. As you move into this area, you can see, or rather hear, from somewhere up ahead of you, what sounds like maybe a record player playing and a voice singing along with it or humming along with it. And you kind of make your way forward, and you go about, 20, 30 feet, let's say. And then you can see that there is kind of an opening or a hole in the floor. Let me just check one thing real quick. Cool. Yeah, and you can see that it's probably about, it covers the entire width of the room. It's maybe 10 feet across. There is like an equivalent hole in the roof above, and you can see there's like ropes and pulleys and, contraptions and stuff up there. Some of the ropes are tied to like cleats on the wall to sort of affect that thing. And there, other than jumping or maybe, getting a rope and swinging across, something like that, it doesn't look like there's an easy way to get across this thing.
Where is it up to?
Where's down to? What's down there?
All right, so you kind of come up to the edge of the hole. James, you flash your light up, and it looks like the up doesn't really go anywhere. It's just a place for these contraptions to sit. There's a ceiling like maybe 5 feet up, so it doesn't look like it continues on to anywhere there. Alice, you look down into the pit. And it looks at first like it's kind of, those rough, maybe limestone walls with like lots of little ridges or, hands and footholds along the edges of the wall. And then after a moment, you realize that those hand and footholds are moving a little bit. And you can see that there are dozens, maybe hundreds of these little mouth-like openings, kind of grumbling and opening and closing along the edges. And your flashlight kind of drops down almost inadvertently for a second. And you see that at the bottom of this shaft, maybe 30 feet down, is a single mouth about 10 feet across, with these monstrous twisted teeth and this hideous long prehensile tongue. And as the light hits it, it sort of, gnashes its nasty teeth that don't fit back together. And the tongue starts extending its way upward. So I'm going to need you, and probably James, because I'm guessing there's some kind of vocal reaction from Alice when this happens, to make me some stability checks. Your target number is 5. And this thing is it's orders of magnitude bigger than the ones you've seen. This is going to cost you 6 points if you fail.
All right, I'm going to spend 3 of my 5.
Okay.
I'll spend 3 of my 4.
Son of a monkey.
Oh, the wrong number, James.
So I lose 6.
You do.
Oh, gee. So target number 5.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could just spend 4 and basically guarantee that it doesn't cost you 6, if that's worth it.
Yeah, and then I'd hit 0.
Okay.
And 0, I'm still okay?
0 is okay. -1 is bad.
You're better than -4.
No, already at a -4. How very exciting.
Okay, so if I hit 4, I'll spend 4.
Okay, so there was a part of Alice that was more or less expecting this or something like this. And as its tongue extends upward, it starts to sort of hum this impossibly deep bass note that seems to sort of synchronize with the singing you're hearing from the hallway beyond.
Okay. Alice is just gonna swear. She's like, Alice says a really, really bad word, just moves back. And I think she just flings out an arm to stop whoever's behind her, and she's moving back. And she looks at the rest, and we need to burn this place down. And she's just moving back.
Okay.
And okay, and looking around, we need to torch this place.
James, what's your immediate reaction here?
It depends. Is there anything mechanical that happens when I get into the negatives like this?
I am looking that up right now.
Yeah, that'll dictate, I think,
not where I would have expected it to be. Let's see. I think it's probably back over here. My apologies. I should have had this ready.
I love the Pelgrane books, but I wish it would be easier to navigate.
I'm looking forward to the second edition because I think a lot of that is going to be better.
It's the same in Fear Itself, and it's the same in Night's Black Agents. It could be better organized.
Right. So the mechanical effect for you at this point, you're at -4, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So you are shaken, which basically means you can't spend investigative points, and all of your other difficulty numbers go up by 1.
Okay. I look down. I see Alice's reaction. Alice, I see you pull back. And I'm just going to start shooting at the damn thing.
Okay.
I'm just going to unload.
James just tries to reach out before he starts.
And at the same time, Alice is moving towards Sal and like, get the dynamite. We're torching this.
Oh, it's already in his hand.
I feel like this is probably a good time to roll credits for next time, don't you?
We'll be right back.
In a mansion grand where secrets lie, Walter Winston lived, but he had to die. His daughter Janet, fierce and bold, hired a team to find the stories untold. Oh, Walter Winston, Mr. Mystery Man, caught in a web of a sinister plan, with cults and crimes and shadows so dark. His story ignites like a match to a spark. Ex-cop, dark gangster, nurse in the mix, unraveling truths in a dance of tricks. Swinging through secrets, meet the moon's gleam. They chase the spurs of a deadly dream.
We are back.
We are back, and things are, as always, getting interesting. So yeah, let's roll through and get some thoughts and stars and wishes. Obviously, it's been a little while since our last session, and everybody is a little shaken up since that encounter last time. Naomi, talk to me about thoughts about where things are going and any stars and wishes you have for the day.
Well, thoughts about where it's going. I think it's going
straight to hell.
pretty bad. But we'll see. We'll see. I think we stumbled into something pretty big again. Yeah, very curious to see how that pans out. How this can get even worse. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. I think stars is just so much here. I think I really enjoy how Adrian is trying to make contact with the youthful people, and then just okay, I've got those stars, looking into the doing all the research, etc. So as opposed to some other parties in the group who are perhaps taking a slightly less cerebral approach.
It is technically cerebral when you shoot somebody in the head.
Yeah, well, that's hopefully Sal gets to do that the next time. So yeah, that's just great to be back, and I do find it is tricky to getting into this type of heist and not ending up over planning it, while at the same time I think our characters on the one hand we don't want to get caught up in a Mexican jail. At the same time we want to do stuff, so you try and prepare, and then you're like, okay, we'll just jump over the fence.
Yeah. May I ask, how is it feeling going from in between your two characters at the moment, Elisabetta and Alice? Because they're both in very high stress situations, but slightly different tones, in very different environments. Does it feel strange going between the two, or does it feel kind of natural to be like, oh great, one hell to another hell?
Yeah, I think they're both different, and well, I try and keep them different, but I don't know if I end up kind of playing the same person.
Oh, I don't think so.
No,
Definitely
I don't.
not. They're very distinct. Yeah.
So.
Elisabetta is certainly feeling a lot more stable at the moment. I think Alice is still kind of fragile right now.
Yeah. Alice is. I think Alice is quite determined. She's got her. Okay. Let's blow this stuff up. Let's burn this place down. She's really moved to salt the earth tactics if she gets the opportunity. But yeah. So and wishes. Well, I hope that next session is not our last session. So, but so
we
far,
have that wish every session. Like, please don't kill us.
But and that's what I think we've done our best. We didn't leave the padlock. We've done all our best to make sure that we can kind of get out. We've booby trapped the door so that we can hear them coming, and then I think that then we stumble across the big bad and we start shooting, and all hell's going to break loose. So let's see if we haven't undone all that preparation work.
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely done all the prep work that you reasonably could, so I think you're in good shape there. All right, Chris, how about you? Thoughts, stars, wishes?
For today's session, I think my star is going to be you, Brian, and this is because it takes a very good GM to bring about a sense of foreboding and the sense of just we can kind of see things in our mind, but a good GM can kind of help bring that picture together. And I think that you've done a fantastic job at this throughout the entire campaign, but especially here when you start getting into visceral details, like shifting from handholds and finger holds and whatnot to hands and mouths and what. Absolutely. So my star is for you, sir. Wishes. Well, I do share I believe it's a common opinion now or common wish that we survive. I think that things are going to be interesting, and maybe not in a good way. I don't know that,
maybe.
I don't know. I've got explosives, so Sal is happy with that, but we'll see where it goes. I continue to hope that the pace continues, and again, the almost tangible sense of foreboding and that edge of craziness or insanity right at the edge. Very good job.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Mac, how about you?
I think my star for the moment was overall just seeing how each character was reacting to, okay, we just got back from nearly losing our lives, then our sanity, and just seeing the very different ways that each character responded to it. Alice just going like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm chill, I'm good, everything's okay, everything is perfect, and we're gonna be fine. James kind of on the same route, but in a slightly different tone, and then Sal just be like, come on, guys, listen.
It's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday. Come on, man.
Nice.
And then Adrian again going much more into his flamboyant side to try and sell off the fact that he is also okay and perfectly fine and everything's fine. Wishes. I mean, I would quite like to live, but on another note, I'm just really excited to see what happens next session because it feels like we're about to discover a lot, but we're also Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, yes, you have certainly reached a new stage in the investigation.
If we live.
If we don't destroy it before
you've still reached a new stage in the investigation.
If we die here, it's still we reach the checkpoint. So, so just
I feel like we're discovering stuff and destroying it at the same time.
So just seeing if it's more like another step into it, if it's just exponential, like, oh wow, we thought the Mayan ruins were bad. Oh no. It's very excited to see what tone comes up next session.
Indeed. And last but certainly not least, our wonderful host, Mr. Craig Shipman. What do you got?
Really like the alignment that our characters have now found in post-trauma single mission, right? I think we are very much of a single mind. To Mac's point, we're kind of taking slightly different paths to get there, but I think that I like that. I echo what Chris said. I feel like we're getting enough detail to form the picture, but not enough that it's overwriting what we're capable of. One small thing that I thought was fantastic is the teeth not fitting together as the mouth closed. That little detail just erupted my imagination, which is fantastic. Nice. Stars. I think it was like in the studio. It's just like all of us are walking there, and this gets into my thoughts, right? We all have a single, like, we're breaking shit. Like whatever's going on here is we're
Mhm.
done. Wishes. I think there's a big part of James that knows that just opening up this Tommy gun into this thing may have little or no effect. What I think he's going to need to figure out pretty quick. I mean, he's, in my mind, James is doing all of this going, find the center, and I have been promised help once we find the center. So I think the only thing that James is thinking as he's unloading this Tommy gun is this the center?
Got it.
Right? Is this where I find out what my bargain really was? Right? What deal did I make here? So I think I'm wishing to find out what's next right now in this moment where we cut to the next episode. So I'm very anxious to see the first 15 minutes of the next episode.
And we all still don't know who did and did not take the deal, did we?
I don't think so.
The characters do not know. You know if you took it, but that's the extent of it.
Yeah. So I think the next 15 minutes of this game are going to be very, very interesting, and you want to make sure you watch it. So follow, subscribe, do the whole thing to make sure you know when we're coming back. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, you'll see it, but you'll have to be watching, keeping a close eye. If you're on the Discord, the Patreon only Discord, we always post the schedules and announcements there. This is the first of 3 days in a row of playing on the channel. Tomorrow we are streaming with myself. We've got Brian and Naomi all playing Shiver Gothic. Mac is catching up watching it. And she's been telling me how much she's enjoying it. We are having a great time. We left at a very similar point there. The first 15 minutes of.
What does that mean? I haven't caught up yet.
I know. I'm not going to give. I'm not going to.
Does Harry have a Tommy gun now?
The first 15 minutes of tomorrow's session is going to be very interesting. So if you have not been watching that, we're having a ship ton of fun with that. And then the third part on Monday is going to be 1-on-1. Speaking of Shiver Gothic, Amy is part of that crew, and then she is playing again with me on Monday, playing Sam Dunwald's newest game, which is Kiss Me If You Can, which is kind of a storytelling version of the Thomas Crown Affair. Brian, thank you so much. Thanks to the three of you, all of you watching, especially those watching live. Love seeing the conversations going there. Absolutely. Take care, all.
See ya.
Bye.
Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.